There is a great deal of diversity between developing countries, but few features could be taken. One is that lower levels of living and productivity. Now, you can take up an example of US and India and Congo on the other side and just compare the kind of the levels of living and productivity which US has and what India and Congo are having. So there is a difference in the levels of living between these developing countries and the developed countries like you. In 2005, these low and middle income countries, they were having population almost around 84% of the total world's population. Income they were receiving 46%. So you can see the disparity. 16% of the world's population is living in developed countries. Then at low levels of income, vicious cycle will start. What is that vicious cycle? So with low incomes, there will be low investment in health, in machinery, and in case if there are going to be lower levels of investment, there is going to be low productivity. And with low productivity, you are again going to get. But it is not that that these countries are going to always remain at the lower levels of income only. So there are escape Taiwan. They were among the countries who escaped this trap, lower level of income trap. And there are more developing countries which are breaking out. So among developing countries, you can see one kind of trend. The trend tells you like this. There is a rapid growth in East Asia. There is a stagnant growth in Sub-Saharan Africa. And there is intermediate level of growth in the other parts of the developing countries. Another characteristic of developing countries is that there is lower levels of human capital. Human capital is essential for economic growth, for social development. As far as education is concerned, what are the issues with education in developing countries? They have lower school enrollments. There are problems with school attendance and completion of the grade. They have very weak basic skills in education, for example, basic reading, basic math. Then there are issues in health conditions also. Under 5 mortality rate is also high in many of the developing countries. And what is also seen through studies is that in case if mother's education is going to increase, there is going to be fall in the under 5 mortality rate. Then in East Asia, on the one hand, health conditions are relatively good. But if you look at sub-Saharan Africa, there are problems of malnutrition, malaria, TB, AIDS. Although South Asia is developing, but there are issues in education. There are issues in health conditions. South Asia continues to have high levels of illiteracy, low schooling enrollment, undernourishment. But if you take up India example, you'll find this that in 1990s, enrollments in India were around 68%, while in 2005 it increased to 89%. Primary school enrollment. Another feature of developing countries is that there is high level of inequality, absolute poverty. You take up countries like Latin America, very high inequality among these countries. You take up countries from South Africa, Swaziland, again, very high income inequality. Then there are the regions of low inequality also among developing countries. What are those regions? Mainly your resource rich regions. Inequality generally varies across regions of the developing countries. But if you look at Asia and Africa, you'll find this that Asia has lesser inequality as compared to Africa. Then there is a case for extreme poverty in developing countries. So there is this huge population is living under poverty line in South Asia and in sub-Saharan Africa. And there are different causes of this extreme poverty also. Some of them could be political exclusion, social exclusion, low human capital in terms of lower levels of education and health. So when you talk about absolute poverty, you mean that you do not even have basic minimum income, which is required for food, clothing, shelter. And there are World Bank estimates about the percentage of population in different regions of the world who are living on less than $1 per day. In East Asia, it is 9 point, East Pacific 8.6%, Latin America 8 point, Middle East 1.5%, South Asia 31.7%, and Sub-Saharan Africa 41.1%. So you can see that even absolute poverty is also very different in different developing countries.